questionnaire design. This is probably the most important chapter in this unit that we're covering this week. The actual design of the question, how this lays out. This has either a visual or aesthetic purposes involved here in order to clarify. I mean, you want to communicate quickly and easily so you get accurate responses. So we really want to spend some time here considering these things. So the significance of wording, design, it can't be overstressed how important this is. It's interesting, but do you really want it? J.D. Power asks, what features, benefits, and this is real marketing stuff here. So basic considerations, only as good as the question's asked. Ask a bad question, get bad results. Real scrutiny should be paid to the survey that you develop as a group, as a team. Every word should be scrutinized. Make sure there's, consistency, worded well, spelling and grammar count immensely. This is kind of tedious work, but absolutely necessary. So here's some decisions, some basic decisions, but utterly important. What should we ask? What are we looking for? Again, this goes back to understanding the client, the target market, what they need to know, what they want to know, what's going to be used for. Is it covering what you need in order to make it actionable data? How should they be phrased? All right. Well, who's your audience? It's got to be meaningful to your audience which is a segment of the target market. But what sequence should they be arranged in? That can make a difference. The order that they come in, how people answer them. So again, you want to look at this from a lot of angles. What's the layout best serve the purposes? Pre-test. We want to test this beforehand to make sure it's working. So is it relevant? Is it accurate? Unambiguous? Clear? Let me put it this way. This is going to sound kind of funny, but any idiot can make something complicated. It takes real genius, real effort, and real understanding to make something seem simple. And that's exactly what they're talking about here. So, and that's some debate and things like that in your group, but that's why this is a team effort. Open response, huge advantage. You can get lots and lots of data, but it's high, open-ended questions like describe your perfect vacation. I've used that before. Fantastic question, but how do you score that data? How do you rank it? All the things that we've talked about, it becomes problematic. So there might be a mixture of questions is usually what happens. Again, fixed alternative, yes or no, those types of things. But again, it has limitations. Always pay attention to the advantages and disadvantages. What's going to work? Maybe it's not the only thing that'll work, but it might be the best thing that will work given your alternatives and what you're trying to accomplish. There you go. And again, I'm not going to read all these things, but all of these are viable, useful, and it can be highly advantageous. However, they're not all appropriate given what you're trying to accomplish, your target market, the questions are being asked, the context, time, who's your respondents, who's your target market you're evaluating, and so on. Phrasing, very careful. If it can be taken two ways, you're in trouble. Avoid leading loaded questions, avoid double barrel items, avoid making assumptions, so on and so forth. Again, this is why, any idiot can make this complex. It takes real skill, effort, and energy to make it seem simple. And honestly, if it's simple, it's usually easier to report the findings, and it's easier to take the findings and make use of them. So here's, flow of questionnaires. There's lots of things. Internet questions, GUI, a graphical user interface, what we're used to on a computer. That can be very important. SurveyMonkey is a good tool to consider, but there might be limitations for using it on a limited basis. So, keep like the number of times you can use it and things like that. So you want to be careful. I'm trying to stay out of this as much as I can so you guys will actually learn how to problem solve and do these things on your own. Your push buttons, status bar, radio buttons, again, they'll all work. What's the best one? Drop-down box, check boxes, open-ended boxes, pop-ups. Pop-ups can be problematic if you got your pop-ups turned off. Sometimes there'll be a warning. how it's laid out. Again, this is part of your design thought process. What do we need to know? Why do we need to know it? And you don't want people to abandon the survey. If it gets too long and cumbersome or too complex, they'll abandon. So that's another thing to consider. There we go. So error trapping, so on and so forth. Pre-test process, you want to test this out within your group is probably the smart way to do it at this point. Or pick somebody completely at random who knows nothing about it and see if they understand the questions as asked. That's another good way to do it. So anyway, that should take it through this chapter. Read it carefully, use it, work with your groups, pound away at that project.